peoples of the internet, and welcome to the Assembly of Nerds podcast. I am your host, Alias, and joining me today we have Ellie.
Hi.
We have Matt.
I have no idea what I'm doing here.
We have Austin.
Hi, I exist.
And last but not least, we have Chris.
Hi.
Today, for our topic today, we are talking about our YouTube journey, basically why we started YouTube and what we've been doing and how that's been going for us, as well as just some little details, like you can talk about your icon and little things that build into your channel and things like that. So who would like to go first? Anybody?
What? This feels like a Zoom call. Like, anyone? Anyone know the answer?
Yes, it does. It very much feels like either somebody volunteers or I just randomly pick somebody.
Oh god, this really is a Zoom call.
Oh my.
Like, if we ever give this a title, this is what we should call it. The Zoom Call of Nerds.
Okay, so, Matt, you're going first.
Okay! So, my YouTube journey is surprisingly long. So, hi, I'm the reviewer. I review things, except I haven't ever made a review yet. So,
You made one for Simple Man.
that's a rant of Simple Man. I do plan to make that a fully fledged review at some point.
Okay.
Fully fledged? Fledged.
Yes, shut up, okay?
Oh, Lord.
So, my first ever technical review was on okay, I'm trying to think. I wasn't expecting to go first. Okay.
I have my story pretty much down. Do you want me to just go with it?
Yes, please and thank you.
Alright, my story is long, it is complicated, it is several things. So it all started, I've always wanted to do this, and I started in, not high school, wanting to do it. I didn't know what to do. I had just come out of the closet, and so I was kind of just dealing with, like, do I want to focus on that? Because, like, I hadn't seen anyone else do it, and lo and behold, there was a lot of people doing it, and I'm like, I'm not that insightful. I'm new at this, never had a date, ever. So I was like, let's hold off on that. And then I found, because of my sister, she and her best friend were really high one night, and they wanted to watch Netflix. And this is back when Netflix wasn't on everything. I only had it on my Xbox 360. This is how far back this goes. Oh, I'm old. So they wanted to watch something. They ended up watching, and I had nothing else to do because I have my Xbox. So they ended up watching the first Equestria Girls movie, which was like in 2013, and it had just come on Netflix. And I was like, okay. They fell asleep during it. I watched the whole thing, and I was like, this is interesting. I'm kind of interested how this came to be. So I watched the first 3 seasons of that show, got addicted to it, found like channels based around it. I found this one person, who I'm not going to dead name because I respect them too much. Her name is Lily Now. She was doing a bunch of like reviews and top 10s at the time, and like I followed her. Fast forward to 2016, she uploads a video called Legacy of Kingdom Hearts, where she talks about how like the gameplay had evolved and the story had like been dominating the series much differently than it was in the earlier parts of the series, and I found that really interesting. So on a whim, I just went and got a PS4 for my brother. He had an Xbox One and a PS4, and I bought the then just released collection for the PS4, and I played it, and I fell in love with it to the point I bought my own PS4 because I had an Xbox One because I was a filthy casual, but didn't know any better. I apologize. So I went and bought that. I got all that figured out, and then that was 2017 when the collection just came to PS4. And by 2018, I'm like, I want to do this. I want to talk about this. I have no one to talk about it with. Let's make a community about this. And my first ever video was, because I was like, I don't know how to start. I don't want to sound bad. By the way, anyone who wants to start this, you will always sound bad no matter what, because you don't know what the you're doing. You could hire someone to do it, but you're going to sound bad because you don't know how your voice works, your range, your quality. You don't know how your equipment works. no matter how much you Google, no matter how much research you do, you're going to sound bad. Do not let that deter you. You will get better. I have over 200 videos, and I hate half of them because the quality is ridiculously bad. So just a tidbit there. So my first ever video was a reaction to the Arendelle level, the Frozen level in Kingdom Hearts 3 being released. And I was like, you know what? I'll bite the bullet. Let's do a reaction. Those are easy. And it was super easy to get my teeth bitten on that. It was super good. I had the editing software, I had the microphone. I just needed an excuse to do it. And that was a good one. For me, that Kingdom Hearts 3 in general is like my thing. I'm the Kingdom Hearts 3 guy. We have regular Pat doing the KH1 stuff. We have everyone else doing 2. Fine. I'm the 3 guy. That's my thing. So that kind of sparked that love, was that first initial video. And there's a lot of love behind that game that we could talk about later. But from there, it just snowballed into this whole thing where I met these people by accident. I watched a bad episode of a show and got mad about it, and I wrote a review, and I met Austin, and here I am.
Nice.
My icon it evolved from a lot of different things. Like, when I started the channel, I was really into Overwatch, and I really like Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. And their winter loot boxes were light green and red, dark green striped boxes with a red bow. And I'm like, okay, I'll use that as like my placeholder till I can get money to buy an icon. And then I was like, I need to buy an icon. So I bought an icon of the exact same thing with the face on it. And I named him Larry. His name is Larry the Loot Box. I love him. He's great. And then I was like, I really want like a character out of this guy. And so I hired someone else to do a full body render. Oh, it was a half body render. That I had my new artist finish the render, like give him pants. And he's ostensibly me, but I just like calling him Larry because that way I know, like, people aren't going to be like, oh, when Larry's on screen, it's a good time in my mind. In general, that's how everything has evolved for me as a creator. We can talk about like styles later, but like that's my journey to get here, basically.
All right. So now that Chris has broken the ice, is there anyone who would like to go next?
Okay.
Yes.
So I began my YouTube journey, like, I think as far back as 2010 when I was in 4th grade and I was obsessed with Bakugan. Like, I watched a lot of Mikazard 123 and I think Zengetcho was his name, I don't know. And I figured I could do that too. So I started up a YouTube channel which was called Nobody Laugh, Austin/Lava Boy. Like, it was basically based on a little OC that I made named Lava Boy. I was obsessed with Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and I figured this character could probably fit into the Bakugan universe. I was a child. I really didn't know any better. It really didn't last long, and I think after getting a haircut, I just decided to stop, and at one point, I ended up deleting 4 videos that I uploaded onto that channel, which weren't much. They were basically just Bakugan reviews, and, well, let's just say that my love for Bakugan kind of, well, it's still present, but I'm not as big on it as I usually am, and I haven't really bought any until, like, this is probably the most recent one. He's my partner, a Pirate Spin Dragonoid that I, well, usually keep as a desktopper on top of a Pringles can. Over time, though, I've been watching a ton of other reviews, like movie reviewers, video game reviewers, like JonTron, Nostalgia Critic, Linkara, Cat Icarus, and I got a bit of inspiration from them, and I figured, hey, I could do that. And one of the very first videos that I planned on doing was a movie review of Chronicle. Then miraculous happened. I was kind of a persistent role player on stuff like Google Plus and Facebook. Some days that I kind of regret in hindsight, and I ended up making friends with Mari, and it was, I think, sometime around 2015 when she posted a pic of, when she had a few photos of Adrian and Cat Noir on her profile. I didn't know what it was about. I thought that he was a girl when I first saw him until she corrected me. She told me where he came from, I figured, okay, I wasn't going to find out about it. And then I saw Mr. Pigeon on TV. I think it was around December, like when it just appeared on Nickelodeon. It was right around the time Cat Noir was just dancing out of boredom, and I thought it was kind of silly. But over time, I just kept learning more and more about it, and that was when I ended up getting interested in the show. And it was also when I decided to get a bit of an OC idea. Back then, really what the important thing that I viewed was, well, Ladybug and Cat Noir's identities being a secret, given the whole Love Square thing. And so I decided to, well, develop this character who tried to reveal their identities, but nobody believed him, and so he would end up being akumatized, and given that I was still in that angsty teenage phase, he would end up killing them. Yeah, thank God I've sort of moved on from that little tidbit, minus the Season 5 storyline. Over time, Miraculous did kind of take over my life, and I figured, okay, maybe this is something I could review. And then MomoCon happened. There was a panel being hosted by Red World Productions where a bunch of cosplayers decided to pretend to be the characters and you could ask questions. So, I did tell these cosplayers, about that OC, and I tried to warn them, but I didn't warn them enough. But regardless, I went up, tried to, at the very least, tried to reveal their identities, and then the Cat Noir cosplayer just went, all right, next, and then just, the guy next to me lowered the microphone. That was a moment. I wouldn't necessarily do anything Miraculous related until 2016, when I, found a cosplay series. Well, okay, there was one where I ended up following a voice actress, and, well, she ended up meeting Bryce Papenbrook. They ended up dubbing With or Without the Mask, and I decided to put Farisay's comic over it, though I would end up deleting it just because it felt more like reposting. I saw this whole Miraculous mystery thing, and I figured, hey, why not contribute some of this? So I decided, why not make a video where I end up revealing Ladybug and Cat Noir's identities? That was kind of what started this whole entire thing, this Miraculous video making thing. I would end up having, more stuff happen. I would go to Dragon Con, attend another panel, just finally cosplay and somewhat realize the Huntsman. I would attend Anime Week in Atlanta and meet the voice actor for Plague. And during all of this, I think around Christmas, I decided, okay, why not review The Bubbler? I decided to just come up with a script in my head and then try and record it completely ad-libbed. I decided to queue up a script and just record the Bubbler review, and it took a bit of editing, and I, would end up getting a new PC to edit all of this, but eventually, on February 16th, 2017, I would upload my Bubbler review, and let's just say it's kind of a mess nowadays, but I look back on it with some fondness. Of course, I would move on to Mr. Pigeon. Stormy Weather took a while because I really wanted somebody to play Ladybug for the segment that I had. And it took, I think until September for me to find one. More reviews would happen. I would end up meeting Keith Silverstein for the first time, and as well as Stephanie Shea and Christina V. I would, show off my cosplay a bit more. I actually attended a Twitter Akuma contest, and I got second place, and I ended up winning 2 prizes, or at the very least 2 commission pieces. One of me, I requested one of them to draw me and Volpina kissing each other, and I just requested another one to do digital art of the Huntsman. Of course, I think around this time, one of my very first collaborators, Mr. Multiverse, at the time, Deadpoolzilla, he would end up creating another part of the Miraculous Mystery series 6 months before I would end up finding out about it. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to add on to it. And, yeah. Of course, he would respond back to it, which would kind of lead to us collaborating on the Horrificator review. There were more reviews happening. I got to use some footage that I recorded from a vacation in Arizona for the Pharaoh review. And then came Lady Wi-Fi. That one's a bit special for me because, well, for one, it was actually... I actually got the chance to talk to the English voice director during an Insta Live. Like, that was one of the most special moments of my life. Like, of course, I also feel a bit bad that it was during the Lady Wi-Fi review, given that, well, I don't have many kind things to say about that episode. But it was still a memory that I won't forget. And hey, he even brought it up to Sayla Victor. I'm not sure if I even saw Alias Kagitabam around this time. I did ask her at one point if we wanted to collab. So we would end up collaborating. I would, like, in the storyline, I would end up losing the Miraculous. Then it was just kind of me trying to cope with it. Then came the time for me to do the Puppeteer review, which was kind of a hassle for me. Like, that was probably one of the first times I ever tried to go ambitious. Like, I was working with a storyline. I tried to do some cinematography, like, or at the very least some effects, like, with the figures and all that. I think it was around the Volpina review where I would end up, or somewhere around that time, I would end up meeting Ellie. I saw a drawing of hers, like, of her OC with my Huntsman OC, like, saying that she wasn't alone. Actually, I think I might want to cue it up.
Ellie's over here shaking her head.
Like, she kind of cringes at it. I was kind of flattered she would end up drawing an OC of hers, like, or at the very least with my OC, and, well, I was kind of curious about this OC, and I just wanted to know more about it. I think I talked with my friend Zeno, and he asked if she wanted to join us in a roleplay session. Like, was that correct, Ellie?
Yeah, that's correct.
Alright, and so she would end up joining me, and, well, Zeno just texted, yes, I remember this all too well. But, yeah, I think because the cosplayer wasn't able to show up for Chloe, I decided to have Elvira fill in the role. It was kind of... I don't know how to describe it.
Bad.
Yeah. Like, she was fine. It did the job. I think I went on a bit of a break. I did do a nutshell video for season 2, but then the time came for me to, like, then I graduated, and right now it was more a matter of where I was going to stay, like, what purpose I was going to have in life. Like, I would end up doing the collector review, and then afterwards I would do a collaboration with Zeno for Despair Bear. Still trying to figure out where I was. I was taking online classes for video editing and filmmaking. Of course, those kind of fell through, and I was distracting myself with Doom Eternal. Like, it was kind of a comfort game, especially given the year that was going on. 2020 was not fun, considering that YouTube was trying to comply with COPPA. That didn't really help matters.
We are a little bit pressed for time, so if you could
yeah.
find your closing thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, this YouTube journey's been quite a while. Like, this YouTube journey's been pretty long. and I wish I could continue it, but yeah.
All right. So, who's going next?
Fine! Okay. So, technically my YouTube journey started off in 2018. I used to make Pokemon videos talking about, well, competitive Pokemon. Then my channel got hacked. That was annoying. I didn't bother getting it back because I wasn't popular enough. So I just ditched that. Looking for something to do, I decided to write reviews. And the first ever review I ever made was of Scary Godmother. That's right, it wasn't miraculous. But just that passion of writing made me realize, I should do this for other things I like. And so, since I was a part of the Miraculous Amino, and all I did was make funny little polls about which episodes of people like more, I decided to make my first ever Miraculous review of Kwami Buster. And it kind of sucked. It was more so like a paragraph rant about everything I hate about it. And people liked it. And then I moved on to Glossiator, which I feel like is a tad bit overrated. And people liked that. And then came Frightening Gale, which I rhymed. And then so on and so forth until I decided to do a Chameleon review, which was my first ever two-parter review. One part was going over Lila Rossi as a character and why I somewhat like her. And the other part was the actual review itself. And oh boy, did that blow up! And just seeing that positive reinforcement, seeing people say, yes, continue this. I wanted to continue, so I kept making more and more. And after a while, I decided, okay, maybe I should go onto Instagram and say, hey, I'm gonna start reviewing Miraculous soon. And people were like, okay, cool, lol. After a while, I told Austin Holden about some of my opinions. And then after a while, this man invited me onto the Reflecto and Kwami Buster viewing party.
Guilty.
And to say I was a nervous wreck is an understatement of the century. But after that, I had fun. I was broken by a couple of people. I will not name names as of the moment. And I asked if I can join the next one. He said I didn't have to ask. I was like, cool beans, let's do this. And the rest is history. So then came the Simple Man viewing party. And after rage quitting twice, I decided, nope, screw this episode, screw getting a Bubbler review done, screw getting a quick thoughts on season 1 done. I'm going to rant about this. And so that did happen. Yay! And now it's at over 400 videos. Views, I mean. Then came people asking me to collab, namely Alias Kagatabum, who came with me with this neat idea. But I just said, alright, I have nothing else planned, let's do this! So then came what's going to be... Wait, can I talk about, like, the whole time shenanigan thing? Alias?
As much as you want to, it's going to be on your channel.
Okay, I just wanted your permission. So she decided to come up with this great idea of every single instance of time shenanigans, we would do this some sort of collaboration. Starting with Timebreaker, and as of right now, Ephemeral. And I'll get back to Ephemeral in a second. And then, just out of desire to do another collab, I asked Chris if he'd like to join me for a video. And out of all the episodes, he chose Darkblade. And then he picked I invited him for one other, but then he also picked the Christmas special. Yeah. And then there's another one for season 2, which is going to be Reverser, because obvious reasons are obvious. So, and as for the final collaboration that I want to do, Austin with Reflecta, because your review of it is a sorry excuse for reviews.
Come on! Even during these podcasts, I'm still kind of a target.
And yeah, the rest is history. I'm currently working on a couple of reviews. My bubble review lost its audio and I want to frickin' die. And that's kind of where I am. One video at over 400 views, 21 subscribers. I don't know how I got that. And I'm looking forward to my journey ahead. Yay.
All right, Ellie, you ready to talk about your journey as an artist?
Unless you want to go first.
Oh yeah, you haven't gone, Alias.
Right, I haven't gone. We should probably end the podcast with something uplifting. So I will go next, because my story gets just a tad bit depressing. So let me start by talking about first my name is Alias Kagitabam. Or my YouTube handle is Alias Kagitabam. And the Kagitabam part is Latin. It's the feminine imperfect form of the word to think. So it's basically means thought and is thinking, if you were to translate that fully out. And then alias is spelled with a U, not because that means anything or because I just wanted to do that, but because I genuinely did not know. I'd never spelled the word out before, so I did not know how to actually spell the word, and I'm from Texas. So it sounds like there's a U in it. So that's the name. The icon, the story behind the icon is the first icon I had was something I made on my phone, and it was bad. It was not pleasant to look at, I think. And then when my first video just kind of blew up, I asked hey, is there somebody willing to make an icon for me, because I don't really like the one that I have. And there were several people who responded, and I picked the one that I really liked, which was the purple futuristic robot that some people think looks like an insect, but is.
I still say it's a cat.
Some people think it's a cat.
I got Bunny Rabbit from it.
Bunny Rabbit, okay. So that's my name and my icon. Now, when I started my channel, I was in the middle of my second complete mental breakdown. Basically, I was not going to school. I was not really talking to any outside friends, and I was experiencing some physical pain, and I said, hey, I can't go to school because I'm in pain, but really I was just depressed, and I couldn't really handle going to school, but I didn't have the words for that. I couldn't explain that to people because I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew something was wrong and that I just couldn't handle going to school. So in the middle of that is where I made my first video, and I was expecting maybe 100 people to watch the first video. And then it comes back that a couple 100,000 people watched that video, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I made more reviews. My upload schedule was very spotty and inconsistent because I was still in the middle of my whole mental breakdown. And kind of what was going on behind the scenes is I would think I was getting better, and then it turned out that I was absolutely not getting better at all. I wound up in a mental hospital 2 times. The first time because I wound up going back to school, and things seemed to be going pretty well until they were not. And so the counselor was like, hey, maybe we should send her to the hospital and just have her there for a week, and maybe that will help, right? So I get into the hospital, they give me antidepressants. I wind up back in the hospital a couple of weeks later because I had almost made an attempt on my life on New Year's. And this is in the middle of having the channel and wanting to have a consistent upload schedule, but just not being able to because I'm just not in the space to do it at all. So that all happened. I get sent out of the second time I was in the mental hospital, there was a riot. there was like an there was like an actual riot where they had to call in reinforcements to, and like there was this one girl who was throwing chairs around in the common area, and then there were other people throwing chairs at the door that separated the common area from the bedrooms. It was bad. Like the day afterwards, I was like, Mom, Dad, please get me out of here. This is not fun. It's kind of funny to me now, and I remember talking to like a counselor about it one day because I'm like, hey, this is really bothering me. I don't know why it's bothering me so much. And she was like, yeah, it sounds traumatic. And I was like, and I thought to myself, wait, what about this sounds traumatic? Because I didn't really understand what
That big
trauma-
oof moment, like that moment I think we've all had a moment like that. And I'm cutting in not to like interrupt, but like just to cut the tension just a slightly bit. Just for anyone out there, yeah, that's a moment we've all had. I promise you. If you've ever been like, that's a problem, yes, sometimes it is, and we've all had that moment. Like, it's okay.
Yes, agree with Chris 100%. So I wound up trying to keep doing the channel, and then I got into a disagreement with somebody behind the scenes who was helping me with the channel. There was this person who was kind of instrumental to the channel, and they were mostly behind the scenes, and I don't want to identify them because there's no point. We found out that we had irreconcilable differences about something, and this person left, and I was just in a space where I just couldn't really do the channel on my own. I just wasn't all the way there. And so what I wound up doing was, because we had worked on the channel so closely, the channel was like a bit of a trigger for me. So I wound up just deleting the whole thing and thinking to myself, I may like never come back to this because of just what happened. But after a couple of years, there kept being moments where it's like, I want to go back. I want to do stuff. And there were like a couple of things that I did. There were a couple of videos that I posted that I made unlisted because they're like, they don't make sense. They're not part of the, they don't have good audio. They're not well thought out. So I just kind of unlisted those, and nobody saw them anyway. So I kept having this nagging feeling of like, I want to go back, but I was never in the position to go back. But one day I'm talking to a counselor of mine, and they say, hey, you should go get like psychologically assessed. You should do the full 2-hour assessment so they can figure out what it is that's been bothering you so much. And so I get diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And so they give me antidepressants. And these antidepressants do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do. I wound up feeling even more depressed. So they switched the antidepressant. This happens like 5 times. And so now I'm coming back to my counselor like, I don't know what's going on. I'm having to switch these medications so much. And then my counselor at the time now says, has anyone ever evaluated you for bipolar disorder? And I was like, has anyone ever evaluated me for what now? Because at the time, I kind of associated bipolar disorder with like having anger issues. And I'm like, that's not me. I don't have anger issues. I don't have manic episodes. Like, this is not, what are you talking about? So my counselor tells me about bipolar 2, which is a form of bipolar disorder where you basically have depressive episodes, and you're normal for some time, and then you have a depressive episode. You're normal for some time, and then you have a depressive episode. And there's not really any mania associated with bipolar 2. And the more I read about bipolar 2 and what it was, I'm like, this is me. This describes me so well. This is everything that has been going on with me, and it explains why all of this stuff was happening. And so I went back to the psychiatrist's office. I told them the story, and they were like, yeah, it looks like you have bipolar 2, and they put me on mood stabilizers instead of antidepressants. because one of the things that happens with bipolar disorder is antidepressants will sometimes make it worse, because antidepressants are not really designed for bipolar disorder, they're designed for depression. And so once that all got sorted out, I started to feel better, and then there was still this nagging feeling of like, I want to go back to YouTube. I want to go back because I really loved doing it. The first video that I started reposting was the Overanalyzing Season 4, just like the first 5 episodes. And I post it, and obviously not a lot of people see it. So I'm thinking to myself, I should probably like tell people that I'm back and maybe I can reach out. And I found out that Austin was still around and that he'd done so much stuff, and I was so happy and glad to see him there. And so I went to go message him on Skype, like, hey, I wanted to tell you that I'm back. I wanted to ask if you wanted to do anything with our videos, with collaborating again, or with something like that. And so I'm going to type, and he apparently sees me typing, and he's like, Alias? I felt so flattered, and he invited me back to the viewing party to watch, what was it? Qilin.
And could I just cut in and say, there were points where I just looked at, like, where I saw your name, and I just figured, like, and I just didn't, like, and I just wanted to message you and just ask or even tell you, I hope you're doing all right. And, like, I just hesitate. But when I see that you are typing, I just, like, I figured, oh, you're actually typing, like, you're back, like, and I figured, yeah, I might as well have you back on board, like, because I really missed you.
Oh, thanks. And I super appreciate it. Thanks to Austin, he made an archive of like all of the videos that mattered to me. So I still had access to my body of work, and which I'm so grateful for now. And so now I have collabs planned with some of you guys. I had the idea for this podcast, and I'm so glad that everybody was happy and excited about it. I was thinking maybe one person would be like, hey, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then it was like everybody. So I'm like, okay, we've got to figure this out somehow. But that is my journey with YouTube, how I started, why I left, and why I'm back, and hopefully back to stay.
Yay!
Ellie, you want to give like the quick and fast version of your journey as an artist?
As quick as possible?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying I am really, really sorry all that happened to you, and I really feel for you. My journey, I'm not a YouTuber by any means, and unless I like take classes and learn how to animate, I probably won't be a YouTuber anytime soon. But when it comes to art, I have always loved drawing. I've been doing it for all my life, and I've always wanted to do it as a job. Even though it's pretty hard, I want to one day be able to live off of doing it. And it wasn't until I was maybe in my early teens or something that my brother introduced me to social media, and I actually started to post my art online. And I think it was around the same time that I found out about what Miraculous was. And pretty early after I found the series, I created my OC, which Austin so generously showed you. I still cringe at that drawing. And I think around 2018 or something.
2019, I think.
It was 2018 for me. I'm talking about something else here. 2018, I was around 16 years old. I had just started high school, and I had like, I wouldn't say bad, but it was still like, it wasn't pleasant depression. I felt horrible each and every day. it was more like I didn't feel anything for a very long time, and I couldn't understand why. And then around Christmas time of 2018, I think, I found Austin's channel when I was looking for one of my favorite episodes of Miraculous. And my first reaction when I saw that video, which was his review of Evil Illustrator, was, okay, this sounds fun. This seems fun. He's a cute guy. I think I can watch more of this. And so I did, and I eventually made some art for of my OC and his. Which I thought, there is no way he's going to see this, that I'm just doing this for fun. And he did. And he invited me to join an RP with him and Zeno, which I believe was Zeno's idea. And we have been pretty close ever since. And I'm pretty confident in saying that Austin was a very big piece in helping me out of that depression. His videos really helped me, and talking to him and Zeno really helped me through. And I think it was like 2020 or something where I actually started doing commission art for Austin's videos. And it was a drawing of Riposte, I think.
Yeah, it was Riposte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have been doing end screen cards for him ever since. I guess that's as close as of a commission I'm doing for art right now. I'm always open to make art for others, but so far I'm not getting paid for it. And yeah, I still have like moments of depression here and there, but speaking to a lot of the wonderful people, including you guys, that I've met over the time, it really helps me through, and I couldn't be happier. I'm in a very good place right now, and that is where my story ends for right now.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So we got to everybody and learned everyone's stories. It was super nice to hear all of the details that I did not know about. A lot of that was new to me, and I'm super glad I got to hear all of them. Anybody have closing thoughts, closing comments?
I just want to apologize for taking a long time to explain myself.
I want to say, before Matt asks, the love story between me and Austin will be a different story.
Don't worry, we'll get the schmaltz later. It's fine. We'll live. God.
Okay.
We'll get
one.
happy and they gotta share it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not this mean typically. I am mean, but I'm not this mean.
I guess, like, I'm okay with it. Wait, who is going to say something?
Me! Multiple times!
Just go ahead.
One.
We have to let Matt talk.
This was a pretty fun thing. Also, Austin, you are a godsend for most of these people.
Well, he wrote, to be fair, with these two, yeah. He just wrote me into this. I was just, like, off being angry in the corner of the internet that I occupy, and then he's like, hey, here's some tweets. Also, you want to, like, join my friends? And I'm like, I want friends.
Like, I thought that, like, hey, like,
It's okay, sound it out.
I thought that I could probably show you why I found Simple Man worse than Chaplon. Like,
No, you did. You did an amazing job at that. I'm just saying, like, don't get me wrong. I'm mainly joking here, but like, you guys did change my life in a way. Like, I love this group. I love having something to look forward to every other week. You know, it gives my life structure, which I didn't have for a long time. So it's just nice.
Yeah, like, I still question why you thought it was a good idea to have me on, given how I was nothing more than just someone who watched your videos.
like,
See, from my perspective, a fan asked me to join something. I'm like, I can't say no.
Austin is kind of like the glue that definitely brought us all together.
oh my god, I
Yeah.
really don't, like, again, I have very low self-esteem, and I can't believe, like, hearing how much I impacted this group, like how much I like made an impression on you guys, like how I kind of impacted your lives. I'm not sure how to feel about it.
You should feel accomplished. You should
Feel
feel proud and loved, because we all love you very much.
Yeah!
Yeah.
All right.
Take our admiration, you fool!
I appreciate it.
So this has been the Assembly of Nerds podcast. We hope you have enjoyed listening to us, and you can tune in next week for more. All right, bye.
Bye.
Adios.